We begin with the lone headline. DOUALA city dwellers once more turned their backs to calls for ghost town from Sunday, November 30th to Tuesday, December 2nd. Life went on normally during these 3 days, with city dwellers referring to the calls as a distraction from their daily economic activities. This and other stories right ahead in the news when we come back in a moment. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this primetime edition of the news this Tuesday, the 2nd of December 2025, with me, MAHNGEH Vernasius. We begin the news from Yaoundé. The third ordinary session of the National Assembly for the 2025 legislative year ended today at the Paul Biya Glass House in Yaoundé, presided at by the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Right Honorable Kavaye Yege Jibril. Yasmin Yakubu brings us highlights of that closing ceremony this morning from Yaoundé.
His Right Honorable Kavaye Yege Jibril presided over the closing of the third ordinary session of the National Assembly for the 2025 legislative year at Paul Biya's Glass House. During the session, parliamentarians passed 7 bills, including the bills presenting the state budget for the 2026 financial year, which is the first state budget for the president's new 7-year term. The 2026 budget is balanced in revenue and expenditure at the sum of 8,816.4 billion francs CFA. All the activities carried out during the session was the Parliamentary Government Dialogue on Land Governance that took place on November 27, 2025, which made it possible to assess the situation of the land reform process in Cameroon, a session that many parliamentarians consider satisfactory.
I think it was very impressive in the sense that some of what the head of state said during his when he was being sworn in, that a good number of those issues were taken into consideration. Being a budgetary year, we were happy that our budget has gone up to a certain extent compared to the other years. It's true we have continued to take some debts, but no country can live with that debts. We think that the way it went, and the fact that at the end of the day, the Speaker of the National Assembly says it, that we should be ambassadors of peacemakers in our constituency. We also call on other Cameroonians to help us in one way or the other.
Des sessions studieuses. Vous avez entendu que notre budget a été augmenté, a progressé de 1000 milliards. C'est des avancées d'ailleurs qui ont été saluées qu'on peut parmi sur les bancs de l'opposition. Et nous pensons qu'à travers ce budget-là, nous allons marquer un pas supplémentaire dans notre course vers le développement.
On the other hand, deputies from some opposition parties complained that the content of the speech of the President of the National Assembly was not what the population was expecting.
Vous nous demandez de nous prononcer sur le discours de clôture du Président de l'Assemblée nationale. Je dois dire que pour nous, c'est une déception. Déception à double titre. Parce que nous clôturons cette session le 2 décembre, alors que le Cameroun vient de perdre l'un de ses dignes fils. Le président Anissé Kani, rappelé à Dieu dans le contexte de détention suite à la crise post-électorale au Cameroun. Nous ne comprenons pas pourquoi, dans son discours, le président peut évoquer ce contexte de crise post-électorale avec la mémoire des décédés sans évoquer le rappel à Dieu du président Ekani Anisset, l'un des combattants pour la démocratie dans notre pays. C'est une déception. Le président n'est pas intégré la véritable attente du peuple camerounais au cours de cette session parlementaire. Suite au discours inaugural de son nouveau mandat, le président a annoncé le chantier de réforme et dont les Camerounais nourrissaient l'ambition et les attentes par rapport à cette session qu'on engagea déjà ce chantier de réforme. Nous terminons sans aucun signe, aucun signal
The November session is ending in a moment where Cameroonians are mourning a veteran opposition figure, Anissé Georges Kane, who died in the military custody. Parliamentarians at the closing of the November session expressed their sadness and also sent a message of condolence to his family, friends and all Cameroonians.
Il faut avouer que c'est avec beaucoup d'émotion que nous avons appris la triste nouvelle du décès de ce que je vais appeler l'icône Anissé Kane, et nous sommes profondément émus. C'est l'occasion pour moi de présenter mes sincères condoléances à sa famille nucléaire, à sa famille politique, et c'est le Cameroun qui perd un opposant de poigne.
Un sentiment de profonde tristesse, parce que ça ne fait plus guère de doute qu'Anissé Kane était avant tout un ami, un grand frère, mais également sur le plan politique, je crois qu'il y avait un certain nombre de choses que nous avons en partage, même si on n'était pas du même parti.
Anissé Kane, 74, passed away on Monday morning in Yaoundé, in country's capital, 38 days after security forces detained him in DOUALA.
And like we heard in that report with our Yaoundé-based correspondent Yasmin Yakubu, one of the highlights of the November session of Parliament was dedicated to coming out with the 2026 state budget. This 2026 budget allocates substantial fundings across various ministries to address critical sectors such as public works, secondary education and public health. This budget reflects a holistic approach to development that could reshape the socio-economic landscape of Cameroon, as you tell us, Rugiatu Buba.
The Cameroonian government has unveiled an ambitious budget for the 2026 fiscal year, prioritizing key sectors such as infrastructure, education, energy, and public health. This strategic allocation aims to address the critical needs of the nation, particularly in areas where improvements could significantly enhance the life of its citizens. A closer look at the budget reveals significant financial commitment to various sectors. The Ministry of Public Works leads the allocation with a statutory 651,009 of road infrastructure in supporting economic activities. Education, both at the secondary and basic levels, also received considerable funding. Notably, the Ministry of Public Health is allocated 388,912 billion francs CFA, highlighting the government's intention to enhance healthcare services and infrastructure. In the realm of public health, the priorities are clear: ensuring functional hospitals, equipping medical facilities with the necessary tools, and providing better support for healthcare personnel. These initiatives are important for revamping a health system that has long struggled to meet the demands of the population, and if the budget is executed effectively, it holds the potential to transform the healthcare landscape in the country, paving the way for improved health outcomes and greater accessibility to essential services. Other key allocations include 425,732 billion francs CFA for water and energy, 389,320 billion francs CFA for defense, and 168,365 billion francs CFA for urban development. Cameroon's budget for 2026 sets the stage for transformative changes across multiple sectors. By strategically investing in infrastructure, education, and public health, the government aims to foster growth and enhance the quality of life for its citizens. The success of this ambitious plan will ultimately hinge on diligent implementation and oversight, ensuring that the promised benefits become a reality for all Cameroonians.
Indicate that the Senate equally is rounding up deliberations, marking the third ordinary session of the November session of the Senate that was ongoing alongside the National Assembly. We'll be bringing you updates in subsequent editions of the news. Today, the world marks the International Day for the Abolition of Slave Trade. Ashley Johnson, in the report that follows, tells us that it is a day to remember the horrors of historic slavery, as well as reflecting on modern forms of exploitation that still exist. Her reports.
The Code Noir, issued in 1680 by Louis XIV, legally sanctioned the ownership of human beings as property, justifying the subjugation of African slaves. Today, December the 2nd is observed globally to commemorate the abolition of this dark chapter in human history. Yet, while slavery in its historical form has ended, modern exploitation persists. Today's slavery is often economic, targeting the most vulnerable. Debt bondage, forced labor, and child marriages tied to family debts trap millions in cycles of hardship. In some cases, women are forced into labor or sexual exploitation under coercion. Another pervasive form is the exploitation of workers under indefinite contracts. Many young people, both abroad and in their own countries, endure long hours with little pay and no job security, performing tasks far beyond what is reasonable, while employers fail to meet obligations. The parallels are stark. Then, African slaves face physical punishment and no future. Today, countless individuals endure moral and economic coercion with minimal recourse. As the world commemorates the abolition of the slave trade, authorities and civil society urge urgent action to confront modern slavery, calling for awareness, accountability, and ethical responsibility to protect the most vulnerable.
And we look at health issue. The second region military hospital organized a free medical campaign from the 24th to the 28th of November 2025. It was open to all Cameroonians where they had access to all medical and surgical specialties. Medical examinations and lab examinations were carried out with a reduction of 50%. There was equally a 10% reduction on all pharmaceutical products. Those who had to undergo operations were benefited from some reductions as well. Now, let's have an overall appraisal of the exercise in the following excerpt selected for us by Thierry Selani.
Because we receive around 2,000 patients. Most of the patients were very satisfied because they were able to meet the specialists that they came for. And also they receive all the benefits that we have mentioned. I also forgot to mention something that was key. We also had like some free lab exam. We had screening tests for hepatitis, for HIV, and so on. The success of the campaign was something that made us very glad and happy because we've spent a lot of time preparing. This is that healthcare services should be available for all population despite their financial level. We met some difficulties, of course, because no human action is perfect. We met some difficulties. It was mainly related to what we call communication, because a lot of patients by day 3, when they came, they told us they didn't even know there was a free medical campaign, and they were hoping to get the information earlier so that they would have benefited from Monday till Friday. So facing that, what we did is that we tried to let them see as many specialists as possible. And also we decided for the upcoming campaign that will be in April, we'll put much effort with media, mainstream media, or even small media or online streaming services, so that the information is shared with the general population, and that many patients receive access to this type of benefits.
That appointment for April next year. In an effort to break long-standing taboos surrounding sexuality in Muslim communities, the Al Rawda Association organized a conference in Douala aimed at promoting gender equality and open sexual education for young girls. The discussions took place over the weekend, as you tell us, Vanessa Shuyong.
At first, sex education looked like a taboo. But now, these Muslim girls and women can comfortably discuss sexuality among parents and children. Young Muslim girls and boys were edified on the importance of sexuality.
De nos jours, la sexualité en islam est un sujet tabou.
The theme was deliberately chosen due to its continued under-discussion within Muslim society, despite its crucial importance. The Al-Rawda Association noted that sexual education lies at the heart of many social issues, but is still widely considered inappropriate. According to the president, growing exposure to inappropriate behaviors, particularly fornication, which is strongly condemned in Islam, has become a major concern. The conference was therefore designed to provide guidance, encourage dialogue, and equip both young boys and girls with knowledge aligned with Islamic values.
D'éduquer ou de réveiller, n'est-ce pas, la jeunesse par rapport à ce thème qui est considéré comme un thème tabou au sein de notre communauté. Et en réalité, l'islam en parle, qu'il faut encadrer cela selon l'éthique islamique afin que la jeune musulmane ou le jeune musulman soit éduqué sur cet aspect, savoir exactement comment se comporter le moment venu. Certes, la sexualité, c'est un thème qui doit être, n'est-ce pas, encadré et en parler, n'est-ce pas, dans le cadre, n'est-ce pas, du mariage. Beaucoup plus pour éduquer, n'est-ce pas, le jeune futur marié ou voir les mariés même, n'est-ce pas, pouvoir revenir à certaines éthiques qui ont été prônées par l'islam afin de consolider leur mariage.
One of the speakers shared her personal experience, revealing the challenges faced by many young Muslims who grow up without safe spaces to ask questions about sexuality.
J'ai déjà 25 ans, mais on ne parle toujours pas de la sexualité.
As a child, I was told it was not something to talk about. Now, at 25, I realize we still don't have many platforms to openly discuss it. Yet, my younger sisters come to me for answers. The conference called upon parents, teachers, imams to actively participate in educating the youth. Beyond the religious perspective, participants were encouraged to address sexuality from social, legal, and emotional angles, recognizing the complexity of the subject. Discussions also highlighted the influence of social media, explaining both the positive and negative portrayals of sexuality that shape young people's perception and behaviors. Important health concerns, such as cervical cancer and other sexually transmitted conditions, were discussed. The organizers expressed hope that the lessons learned during the conference will be taken back home by both parents and girls, helping to foster healthier conversations and informed decision-making within families and communities.
And talking about sexuality issues, let's talk about HIV/AIDS. Cameroon joined the rest of the world to celebrate World AIDS Day. That was yesterday, December 1, 2025. It is a day to raise awareness, honor those lost to AIDS-related illnesses, and show solidarity with people living with HIV virus. On this day, Cameroon's First Lady, Madame Chantal Biya, President of Africa Synergy, sends a message for everyone to work to end HIV/AIDS by 2030. Yaoundé-based correspondent Yakubu Yasmin has details.
Celebrated under the theme Overcoming Disruption, Transforming the AIDS Response, the commemoration of World AIDS Day is an important opportunity to raise awareness and honor those lost to AIDS-related illness and show solidarity with people living with HIV. To mark the day, the president of the African Synergy Against AIDS and Suffering, Madame Chantal Biya, the First Lady of Cameroon, and the organization's founding president, conveyed a clear message. The core message is to continue strong commitment to fight against AIDS, focusing on youth sensitization and the goal of ending AIDS as a public health threat by 2030. She also called for an end to the discrimination faced by people living with HIV/AIDS, promoting solidarity and the community participation to achieve the goal of ending this pandemic. Advocating for all pregnant women to be tested for HIV and receive necessary antiretroviral medication to prevent transmission to their newborn. Ahead of the 38th edition of World AIDS Day, Madame Chantal Biya continued her effort by distributing materials to about 100 associations, schools and ministries across Cameroon to reinforce nationwide campaign against STIs and HIV/AIDS. This action underscores her commitment to equipping the population with the necessary knowledge and values to curb the spread of the pandemic.
Like we heard in one of our lone headlines, 3-day ghost town recently called by the opposition party, the FSNC leader, has been boycotted by DOUALA city dwellers, a city in which economic activity is the mainstream and life wire of the people, has been as active as usual. Details in this report.
It is a resistance that has failed to produce the desired fruits. 3 days of ghost towns declared from Sunday, November 30th to December 2nd by the opposition party, the FSNC. The reality on the ground after day 3 demonstrates the position of Cameroonians who consider the call as a wastage, for Cameroonians in their majority have to go about with their daily activities to survive. Staying at home is not to their advantage.
Chaque fois ça m'handicape, puis c'est rien qui puisse trouver de quoi manger.
Les histoires qu'on dit mort vivre là, c'est pour la paix. Les vieux jouent au jour, personne ne donne l'argent.
To many at the Ndokpasi market, the responsibility are the common people, while those calling for ghost towns are living in luxury abroad.
Ils font les choses là, c'est le bas peuple qui a de souffrir. Eux là-bas, ils n'ont pas de problème. Donc, du coup, c'est ça des bris mortels, on n'est pas venu par rapport à ça. Ils commencent pas par rapport à ça. Je suis en train de me battre pour nous, mes enfants. Donc, du coup, ces histoires-là, ça ne me concerne pas. Ça le concerne, eux là-bas, le haut peuple. Nous, ici, on se bat.
In a country that is looking forward to economic growth like Cameroon, such initiatives like ghost towns can only be counterproductive, especially in an economic hub like DOUALA.
And in this other sad story, following the passing on of George Anese Ekane last December 1, heartfelt tributes from political leaders, public figures, and citizens have been issued on social media, all recognizing his dedication to justice and development in Cameroon. Rugia Tububa brings out some of these tributes in this report.
Reactions to the death of Anise Ekane have been widespread and intense, with numerous political figures and international organizations condemning the Cameroonian government and holding it responsible for his death in custody. Ekane died on December 1, 2025, reportedly after being deprived of necessary medical care while detained at the State Secretariat for Defense in Yaoundé. Many opposition leaders, including Issa Chiroma Bakari, Hiram Samuel Yodi and Joshua Osi, blamed the government for his untimely departure and called for the immediate release of all political prisoners. Some, like Wilfred Ekanga, labeled his death an assassination by the Paul Biya regime, while civil society actors and prominent lawyers such as Barrister Liscombe termed it a national disgrace, highlighting that he was denied essential oxygen. Human rights groups and Ekane's party, Manidem, had previously alerted authorities. In reaction, government spokesperson and Minister of Communication Rene Emmanuel Sadi expressed condolences, emphasized that Ekane had received medical care and announced an investigation to clarify the circumstances surrounding his death. He urged calm and responsibility, advising against any manipulation of the incident. Agbo Kongo on his part called for a humanitarian review all of individuals held for political reasons, arguing that their release will foster healing and build trust within the nation. Aristide Bona remarked on his Facebook handle that Ekane's enduring sacrifice symbolizes loyalty and resilience, inspiring future generations with his exemplary life. The international community, including the delegation of the European Union to Cameroon and the French embassy, expressed sadness and concern over his death in detention, with the EU reiterating calls for the release of all arbitrarily detained individuals and stressing the need for justice.
In response to the alarming rise of hate speech and xenophobia on social media in our society following the presidential election, civil society actors in DOUALA came together recently, launching an awareness campaign to sensitize, promote unity, peace, and responsible civic engagement. More of that story with Rachel Ndifogang.
In the aftermath of the presidential elections, Cameroon has witnessed a surge of hate speech circulating across social media platforms. Concerned by this trend, local entrepreneurs, opinion leaders, and civil society actors joined forces recently during a come-together to support government efforts aimed at preserving national unity and social cohesion.
We are just coming out of not long ago, and that's why we decided today from the civil society to bring in actors, activists, to come so that we could talk to them, sensitize them on peace, on the importance of peace in the nation.
According to one of the organizers, Musa Husseini, the rise in hateful rhetoric and xenophobic sentiments not only tarnishes the country's image, but also threatens its development. Faced with these dangers, several civil society groups initiated a series of sensitization campaigns to encourage citizens to reject divisive behaviors.
À la suite des élections au Cameroun ou encore à la suite de l'élection présidentielle.
Following the presidential election, hate speech spread widely on social media. In this context, we ask ourselves, what as entrepreneurs, opinion leaders, and especially as actors of the society, what could we do to support the government's efforts, particularly to fight this rise in hatred and xenophobia that tarnishes our country and hinders Cameroon's development? As a response, certain civil society actors decided to organize a series of awareness campaigns to address this issue. The event brought together motorbike riders, media professionals, community leaders, and several other stakeholders, all committed to promoting peace and responsible communication. Their presence reflected a shared belief that combating hate speech requires joint action from every segment of society. During the campaign, participants delivered strong messages promoting unity, emphasizing no to tribalism, no to disorder, no to manipulation, and no to the proliferation of hate speech. The initiative seeks to remind Cameroonians of the importance of living together and building a peaceful and inclusive society.
And in sports, David Pagu, the Indomitable Lions' new head coach, has unveiled a rejuvenated squad of 28 Indomitable Lions for the 2025 African Cup of Nations. This marks the start of a new era after the departure of Mark Breeze and signaling Cameroon's bold bid to revive its footballing fortunes that will be coming up in Morocco by the last month of this year. Rachel Difongang once more with details.
As the countdown to the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations intensifies, a new era is taking shape within the Indomitable Lions then. Cameroon steps into the competition not only with renewed ambition, but also with a transformed technical leadership and a refreshed squad, signaling the beginning of a bold chapter for the national team. The list of Indomitable Lions for the 2025 African Cup of Nations is now official. David Pagu, recently appointed as the new head coach of the Cameroon national team, has unveiled the 28 players who will represent the country in Morocco. His appointment follows the replacement of Mark Breeze, whose turbulent tenure ended amid administrative arguments and mixed results on the pitch. For this crucial continental showdown, several notably absentees stand out: Adré Onana in goal, Michel Ngando in defense, Martin Onla in midfield, and Vincent Aboubakar in attack. This omission signals Pagu's decisive intentions to usher in a new circle within the team. At the same time, fresh talent is making its entry into the Lions den. Gezino Nyamsi, Edouard Sombang, Christian Kofanye, and Eriginio Dina Ebimbe are among the promising players introduced into the squad. Their presence reflects the coach's vision to rejuvenate the team and build a dynamic group capable of adapting to the demands of modern African football. With this rejuvenated lineup, Cameroon prepares to face the 2025 African Cup of Nations in Morocco, aiming to regain its competitive edge and reaffirm its status among Africa's footballing giants.
And following the decision by the Federation of Football to sack the head coach Mark Breeze 3 weeks to the kickoff of the African Cup of Nations in Morocco, Cameroonians in the city of Yaoundé have been reacting differently to the move. Yasmin Yakubu collected their different opinions and compiled the following for the news.
With 3 weeks to go before the kickoff of the 2025 African Cup of Nations in Morocco, the Cameroonian Football Federation, FECAFOOT, has made its decision. Mark Brice is no longer the coach of the Indomitable Lions. A decision that Cameroonians in the political capital were impatiently waiting for.
Moi, je salue l'expulsion de Mark Brice parce que pour dire vrai, ce qu'on attendait de lui, il ne nous a pas donné ça. Bon, et maintenant, ce que je souhaite, c'est que les dirigeants camerounais choisissent un Camerounais comme entraîneur de l'équipe nationale du Cameroun. Qu'on nous laisse l'affaire des Blancs là. Qu'on prenne, il y a des entraîneurs camerounais qui peuvent très bien entraîner l'équipe nationale. D'ailleurs, d'autres ont fait leurs preuves dans le passé. Pourquoi ne pas continuer avec eux?
Moi, je suis un individu dont on ne connaît pas d'où il sort. Celui dont on appelle Mark Brice. Et je pense que c'est lui qui a été à l'origine de tout ce désordre au sein de la FECAFOOT et du ministère.
A decision taken on Monday evening following the first meeting of the emergency committee of Samuel Eto'o's new team that some Cameroonians consider a big mistake to Cameroonian football team.
L'exclusion de Mark Brice, c'est une grosse erreur. Vous voyez un peu. Ce Samuel Eto'o, je ne sais pas pour qui se prend, mais quand vous voyez, il a à son arrivée, il avait exclu le coach passé, l'état de dédommagé. Qu'il exclut encore, un coach qui le contrat encore, il exclut encore là. C'est pour mettre l'état dans les dettes, parce que lui, dans tout ça, c'est nous qui devons payer encore cet argent-là. Vous voyez que lui, il apporte du désordre.
Cameroon without Onana, Anguissa, Aboubakar and Choupo-Moting, with 3 weeks to go before African Cup of Nations in Morocco, the decision not to select some of the Indomitable Lions key players seems normal to many Cameroonians.
Le problème, c'est que ça dépend du seul entraîneur. Et il n'y a aucun joueur qui est irremplaçable dans une équipe au monde. On a eu les Abega, et après, les Abega sont partis. Il y a toujours eu le football. Il y a eu les Manga Hongrie, il y a eu les Mila Roger, on a continué. Il y a même eu les Eto'o-Fils. Aujourd'hui, Eto'o-Fils n'est pas là. Aboubakar Vincent a fait son temps avec les autres. Si